Hi, I'm Rabbi Dunner. Welcome to my weekly Erev Shabbos Torah. This week's Parsha, Korach, tells the story of a rebellion against Moshe Rabbeinu, led by his cousin Korach, and of course his band of rebels. It begins with a very strange pasuk: Vayikach Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kahos ben Levi. Now, it's not unusual for the Torah to mention a father's name, but in this case, the Torah mentions Korach's father, his grandfather, and his great-grandfather. How strange. But Rashi is puzzled about something else. If the Torah is already going to the effort of mentioning all of Korach's ancestors, why stop at Levi? Why not trace his lineage all the way back up to Levi's father, Yaakov Avinu? The Medrash quoted by Rashi gives a fascinating answer. Yaakov was a Navi. He was a prophet, and he could see through prophecy that there would be a rebellion one day led by Korach, his descendant, and so he prayed that his name would not be associated with Korach by being mentioned in the narrative account in the Torah when it was written and recorded. I have a couple of questions for you to think about. Firstly, even if Yaakov's name was not mentioned, does he think we're all idiots? I mean, come on! Who's Levi's father? You don't need to be a Bible scholar to know the answer to that one. Yaakov! So what did Yaakov gain by ensuring that his name was left out? Secondly, listen to this one. The implication is that if Yaakov would not have prayed for his name to be left out, his name would have been recorded along with the others. But if there is a negative connotation by being mentioned in the yichus of a rasha, of a wicked person, then even without his prayers, why would Yaakov have been mentioned? In fact, if there is a negative connotation at all, why does the Torah name Yitzhar, Kahos, and Levi? Don't they get a break? Why should it just be Yaakov? The Radomsker Rebbe has a beautiful answer. Let me introduce it to you in the following way. My children always tell me that the best thing that ever happens to them is when people say, "Are you Rabbi Dunner's son?" or "Rabbi Dunner's daughter? Is your grandfather Ackerman from London? Was your great-grandfather the Rav of London, Rav Yosef Tzvi Dunner?" But sometimes it's also the worst thing. Weird, right? No, it's not weird. It can be the best thing when it means they get special treatment. And that happens. We know your parents. We know your grandparents. What do you need? What can we do for you? But you know, and I hate to say it, sometimes people use your parents and grandparents as a way to embarrass you. You're the son of a rabbi, of that upstanding person, and this is how you behave? If I'm brutally honest, I got it when I was young, more often than I'd care to admit. And how do you defend against that? Of course you can say, that's them, it's not me, I'm my own person. But deep down, actually not so deep down, you know they're right. You're not living up to what you should be living up to. That's what the Radomsker says. He quotes the Shloh HaKodesh, who explains that the pasuk, V'zocharti es brisi Yaakov v'af es brisi Yitzchak v'af es brisi Avraham. God says, I will remember my covenant with Yaakov, my covenant with Yitzchak, my covenant with Abraham. This is part of God's rebuke to the Jewish people, not words of consolation. It is exactly because we are their descendants, and God made a covenant with them, such fine people, role models of godliness and faith, that we are much more responsible for failing to live up to their example. In Parshat Korach, the Torah records Korach's lineage, not simply to identify him via his family history, but to reinforce his guilt as a rebel against God. He was not some ordinary guy who started a revolution. He was ben Yitzhar, ben Kahos, ben Levi, a man with illustrious role models, and yet he failed to absorb what they were into his behavior. And now we can understand Rashi's question. If the Torah is condemning Korach for his wickedness as a result of his failure despite such great ancestors, why not put the final nail in the coffin and trace his lineage back to Yaakov Avinu as well? And that is what the Medrash's answer means. Although Yaakov prophesied the evil of Korach, he prayed that his name not be used as a tool to condemn him, even if he was guilty of not living up to his forebears. I want to bless you and all of us that we always live up to the expectations, hopes, dreams, and aspirations of our illustrious forebears, and act as fine examples to our children and grandchildren, so that they too will benefit from our glorious background and heritage. Wishing you a wonderful Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos, good Shabbos.